What is the trashiest thing you've ever witnessed? NSFW. Knew somebody who decided to have a home birth upon learning she wouldn't be allowed to smoke in the maternity ward. She literally drove to the hospital in labor and of course was stopped outside and told to put her cigarette out. Instead, she drove back home, still in labor. Mind you, close bracket. Ended up giving birth to her 8 pounds baby on her back porch. Downtown Tempe on Nye about 15 years ago, we were walking back to our cars after midnight when we spotted some police surrounding a big green electric junction box. As we got closer we found it was 2 totally naked homeless people, a guy and a girl. They were doing it doggy style behind the box and determined to finish. When they realized the cops weren't willing to touch them in the act, they started waddling around and waving to the crowd like it was a parade. The dude still humping her like a rabbit. Mace was sprayed. Batons used as pry bars. At one point the guy got his concentration on and looked like he was actually going to finish. Nothing stopped them until a taser was deployed and they both fell face first onto Mill Street like sacks of concrete. The woman got tased via their connection as far as I could tell. The whole scene lasted upwards of 15 minutes. I'm still both scarred and entertained thinking of it. I saw a woman hold her toddler son out of her car window doing about 35 miles per hour while he peed. My life's never been the same. A woman getting caught stealing at Home Depot and then peeing through her pants to try and get the loss prevention guy to let go of her. I can still hear him clear as day. What the lady? Why? I was riding Greyhound, so I should have expected some shitty. During the course of my trip, 2 passengers, one male, the other female, got to talking and it turned out that they had both been released from prison recently. The guy had a bottle of liquor which they started sharing. This led to him performing oral sex on her, legs up on the seat in front of them, and eventually full on F-ing. Somehow they were not asked to get off the bus. Greyhound at its finest. Edit. For the folks asking about location, this was in Northern California. Exact route was Eureka to Oakland. Edit 2. Greyhound is a long distance bus line. The location doesn't much matter, in my experience. If you're on a Greyhound, you're in Florida. A girl was giving a guy head in the smoking room of a bar. The bartender on duty finds out and attempts to break up the festivities. The guy who was being pleasured proceeds to bite the bartender's finger off. Thankfully, this was really close to a hospital and they managed to reattach his finger. Runner up. First Denver Nuggets game I ever went to. There was a homeless dude shitting on the sidewalk outside the arena. He had a huge grin on his face. And some guy was standing a few feet away, taking pictures on his smartphone and laughing. I'm from a town in the UK that is notorious for being an absolute trash fest. So I have quite a few stories to tell. I remember one time, though, I saw an old bearded man drop a cigarette in a puddle of vomit, then pick it back up and continue smoking it. 2 girls fighting over a guy in the front yard of a party. One of them had her boyfriend at the party. He was not the guy they were fighting over. The other had a lovely 4-year-old daughter that she left alone at home and later lost custody of. My dad caught my ex, who I was dating at the time, getting fingered by random guys on the beach while her mom was with them. I'm glad he told me. What a real bro. And what a trashy bitch. A crackhead couple F-king on a bench at 1 in the afternoon on a very busy pathway. Kids and families everywhere. Finished work and was coming out of the staff entrance, which happens to be a fairly sketchy laneway on the north side of Dublin city centre, and saw a junkie couple doing the nasty. Which wouldn't be that bad if it wasn't that the only thing that was concealing them was their 2-3 years old kid sitting in a pram facing the other way. It kind of just made me feel sad thinking of the life that child is going to have. But yeah, it was also trashy to FCK. I was outside a bar smoking with some friends when a car pulls up. Some woman opens the passenger door and starts peeing all over the curb. Cops an attitude, what the FCK are you staring at? "You people are disgusting." She then wipes with a napkin, throws it at us and slams the door shut as the driver peels out. An obese lady feeding her baby Mountain Dew in a baby bottle in Walmart. What appeared to be a mother in her mid-40s and her 2 daughters, who were in their late teens early 20s, giving a group of guys blowjobs at Mardi Gras. They, the girls, were all kneeling in the middle of the circle of 6-8 guys, tops off, and were just going back and forth among the guys, sucking them off, while the guys were shooting pics and video with their cell phones. I guess those guys had some really cool beads. When I was preteen, I ate some bad food at a restaurant. We went to Target after and my stomach literally instantly turned sour as we entered. I went to the bathroom and I'd sh-tea. 5 minutes later I'd need to sh-tea again. So I just decided I'd stay in there till I was sure it was empty. This went on to the point that I told my parents to go to the other stores they wanted to hit and just hit me up after. About 10 minutes into the ordeal I hear people comment. I'm thinking, great, no way they won't hear and smell this. They'll probably turn right around. Then I see 3 pairs of feet in the stall beside me. 1 female and 2 male. These trashy people had a full-on threesome in the Target bathroom while I'm shooting out sloppy wet turds that smell like death incarnate 3 feet away with just a stall wall in between us. I only ever saw their feet, but I'm counting it as something I experienced. I watched the following situation unfold. And NBSP. A woman was about to be arrested for public drunkenness. The cops were evidently feeling merciful and decided to put her into a cab. Instead, I guess this offended the woman. In response to being directed toward a cab, she lifted up her skirt, angled her urethra, and started to gush pee directly onto the cop's shoes. Angled her urethra. Trying to picture this, but failing miserably. Probably for the best. Guy I played football with lived in a trailer park. Took his 14-year-old cousin to prom. She ended up pregnant. And he went to jail for statutory rape. My ex-boyfriend, now deceased, invited his friend over to my mother's house while I was at work. They broke in through a back window and helped themselves to my late grandfather's extremely expensive vintage bottle of scotch that my mother was saving for a special occasion, which they drank straight from the bottle, shirtless in the front yard. I came home when the police called me due to neighbors reporting gunshots fired from my yard. My ex and his buddy were having a little target practice on our neighbor's orange tree. The cops found heroin, weed, and Xanax on them, even without mentioning the orange tree. It's really not hard to guess what state this took place in. Florida man strikes again. At a college party. In an apartment. Seriously hot girl. Daisy Dukes and a halter top. Maybe 5 feet tall arrives. Walks around drinking. Yells. Somebody FCK me. One guy chats her up. And after 2 minutes, she drags him into the bedroom. 20 minutes later the guy comes out. Grin on his face. Nothing I hadn't seen before. Then, from the bedroom, send another dick in. Everyone looks at each other. No one moves. Maybe 15 guys at the party. Almost as many girls. She walks to the bedroom door. Naked. Looks around. Points at a guy. Says you. Let's go. Guy goes. She FCKs 8 guys. Coming to the doorway each time to pick a guy. After a couple guys. She is not even closing the door. Last 3-4 guys. She is standing there with cum running down her legs. Early 80s. Condoms were not a thing in white bread college. I managed to avoid being picked by hanging in the kitchen. Watching through the island cabinet gap. She walks out after 8. Wearing the shorts and halter. Cum all down her legs. Drinks a cup of party punch. Leaves. Find out later she was 16. A townie. And had done it before. Was outside for a smoke downtown one night. We have a place called House of Pong where you can drink and play ping pong. Well, a rather large black woman and her man go walking by. He stops to look at the sign. The woman turns around and says, "You want to play ping pong? How about these ping pongs?" Semicolon. Proceeds to pull out her ginormous breasts and lures him over into a full-on motorboating session in the middle of the street. Made my night. Edit. Maybe not so trashy but still wanted to share. It's late at my local towny dive bar's karaoke night when the bar's owner and namesake shows up. She's a tiny 75-year-old woman in a pink cardigan with a great big loud voice. With her 2 early 20s granddaughters in tow. Heavily drunk and dressed for the club. Up she rolls to a quiet guy who's been hanging by the entrance smoking a cigarette. They exchange some words and walk around to the alleyway beside the bar. One of the granddaughters hikes up the skirt of her dress, squats down on her heels and proceeds to piss all over the sidewalk while the other granddaughter runs around the corner screaming, "Don't sell coke to my grandma, goddammit." From down the alley echoes grandma's voice. "Shut the FCK up, bitch. It's my birthday and I'll do what I want." When I had enough of this scene and went inside, the bartender was trashed off her ass and pouring everyone free doubles. At uni we have a downstairs media room called the ILC. Integrated Learning Center. My 3rd day at uni I walk in. And there's a homeless guy sitting at one of the computers moaning like crazy while beating his dick like it owes him money. I walk in and immediately start laughing hysterically. My buddies do the same. Cops finally show up and escort him off. No. He didn't finish. I once watched a drunk girl from my freshman dorm give the 400+ pound guy that worked at Little Caesars a lap dance for a free pizza. They only cost $5. A girl in her 20s letting guys finger her for a few seconds if they bought her a drink. Bring someone else's mom to a high school prom. There is a group of friends. One of them, Jake, is quite funny. Nice kid. His parents go through a bitter divorce. Rumors start coming that one of Jake's best friends, Chris, is actually banging Jake's mom. No one could confirm. Until Chris pulls the power move of bringing Jake's mom as his date. She shows up blackout. Grinding on all the kids. Getting more drunk. Gets them thrown out. Names changed for anonymity. Felt crazy bad for Jake. He was a junior. Had to live with that for a year. The funny thing is Jake and his mom's relationship has healed. Saw them on FB together. I'm not sure I could ever forgive my mom. This happened at a friend of a friend's 17th birthday party. Birthday girl's boyfriend brings his cousin to the party. Everyone gets drunk as you do. Boyfriend disappears and the search is on. Birthday girl eventually finds him f***ing his cousin in the bathroom. My favorite quote from the ensuing argument was, "Your breath smells like your cousin's PSSY." Didn't seem to matter much, they're married now with 2 kids. I guess drunken incest can't stand in the way of true love. We were camped near big family with many children near a river. I look over. And who do I see but no more than 16-year-old Smokey McPregnanson in a bikini. Chain smoking cowboy colors. Had to be 6 months pregnant. Close runner-up was also teen girl. Very pregnant. Barefoot in an Arby's fighting with her baby daddy who worked there. No disrespect to any Arby's workers out there. In Afghanistan we made a supply run to Kandahar airfield. We had some spare time before we left to go back to our cops, so we went to the Burger King there. Yes, the Air Force had a Burger King in Afghanistan. On the way there we walked past a row of porta potties and a strong gust of wind blew open the doors, and inside one of the porta potties was an Air Force chick riding some guy's dick like it was the last plane home. In a porta potty in the 120 Afghan summer. How they could FCK in that stench is beyond me. But bravo. Riding some guy's dick like it was the last plane home. You win. An incredibly obese woman trying to shop in Walmart. Maybe she was on her way to clothe them. Girl pulling her tampon out before letting some random drunk guy FCK her on the dance floor. When I was 17 we were all drinking in a park on New Year's Eve and it was raining. There was a drunk girl giving different guys blowjobs and her pants were undone and half off. I wonder what she's doing with her life now. went to strip club in Houston. An unreasonably large percentage of the girls working were too drunk and or otherwise too intoxicated to even dance. One girl missed half her song before she stumbled up on the stage. Another was literally sitting sprawl-legged on the floor in one of the dance cages like a little kid, playing on her phone. She was wearing a barely there bikini outfit, so I've no idea where she pulled that phone from. The stripper trying to chat with my two friends and I was so out of it. She told each one of us that her name was something different. Mind you, we're sitting at one of those tiny tables, all talking together. In a bar in West Virginia, I saw a woman enter a bar with a baby in one arm and a beer in another. This woman must have had beef with some guy because he walks up to her, punched her in the face and then carried on with his night. Nobody even batted an eye to this. It was just another night at this bar as far as they were concerned. I used to work at sex part-time for a few months. Customers would come in whose BO is so bad that you could taste it. That lingered in the shop for up to 30 minutes unless half a can of air freshener was used. Then they'd come in the next week with more probably stolen goods to sell and they'd be wearing the exact same clothes. And you begin to wonder if it's been washed since the last time. Music festivals. Man. Saw an old lady in neon pink leopard print spandex sitting on a younger guy's shoulders, doing lines of coke off of his bald head. Saw two girls, apocalyptically drunk, laying naked in the collapsed ruin of their tent, alternately throwing up and pleasuring each other in the throw up. On multiple occasions, I've seen people purchase a 6-foot bong, use a 6-foot bong, bring the 6-foot bong into the crowd, and weep over the shards of a shattered 6-foot bong. Streaker. Riding a disturbingly fast motorized and taxidermy deer. Screaming and pinging spent nitrous canisters at security. After a guy's big bag of shrooms burst and exploded all over the ground. A frenzied mob of around 25 people truffle hunted and devoured the fallen fungi in under a minute. I may have been one of these people. At a bar in DC. Watched a girl giving a guy a hand job while standing at the bar. He was okay looking. She wasn't. He stopped her after a couple of minutes and then kept pushing her hand away and trying to do up his fly. I give her points for effort. While I was at the movies seeing Gladiator, I seen two youngish people have sex in a full theater. I'm talking her bouncing up and down on his lap and they were seated near the front. It lasted 2-3 minutes and nobody in the theater left to complain. They were at least quiet. Are you not entertained? A guy peeing on the door to my university center. Broad daylight. We turned the corner. And there he was. Making a lemonade deposit. Right at doorknob level of the door. He didn't stop when he saw us. He just shrugged and kept going while a half dozen young women stood waiting for him to finish up. Then when he finished, he shook off his junk, tucked it away, and offered to shake my hand and introduce himself to me. I basically yelled, "What the FCK is wrong with you?" and shooed him away. Then we knocked on the window of the student center until someone let us in rather than touch the now urine covered door. I wonder how people do that. Having a very shy bladder. A line of kids, like 10 plus, throwing up outside of a party back in HS because they all apparently snorted a shitty ton of oxycontin. I promptly left. Please tell me like 10 plus wasn't their age. Young children swimming in a polluted river. The river is officially a dead zone for marine life if I recall. And has piss, shitty, and chemicals. Aside from trash in it. Edit. For those wondering. This was the Pasig River in the Philippines. Not Cleveland. But now I'm terrified about the river catching fire. Was on a smoke break at work and saw a guy slammed open his car and pass out. Then realized he had 2 young children in the car trying to wake him up. He woke up, tried to drive away and hit a car. I was mid 911 call when he hit the other car. Never have I seen someone not care about their own children like that. Music festival. Bloodstock 2012. Was at the main stage watching a band and taking part in the mosh pits. This couple arrived that were rumored to have walked around one of the campsites bollock naked. high off their heads on something. A few songs in and the woman proceeds to get on her knees and give the guy a blowjob. A lot of us were just staring bemused and bewildered as to what was unfolding. After that the woman got on all fours and the guy attempted to bone her doggy style. I say attempted because the pit inadvertently crashed the party. One guy flew out and crashed into the pair, effectively killing their libido. I work as a doorman, security, in a club in a small town in the UK. I walked into the men's toilet and checked a cubicle to find a guy snorting coke off of a woman's vagina who I'm certain could have passed for Gollum's little sister. She literally pissed herself in surprise, dousing the guy in urine, and all he did was lick it all up and try to go back to the bar. I, stupidly, bought my girlfriend, at the time, Britney Spears tickets in Newark with Pussycat Dolls as the opening act. This was maybe 10 years ago. Anyway, she was an awful driver and didn't have a lot of friends. So she ended up asking me to go with her so I could drive and she'd have someone. Agreed. Got there. Everything was fine. Luckily brought earplugs and they were selling beer at a couple stands. Cue bathroom break. Mind you, I'm one of maybe 10 guys in the building. So conveniently there's no line outside the bathroom. When I walk in, I witness lines of young girls in every direction. Pants on the floor using urinals. Peeing in the sinks. Just f-king everywhere. They all looked up at me, smirked, and went back to their business. Noped out and asked a staff member if I could use a back bathroom or something, which they obliged. I now have the memory of simultaneously watching dozens of underage girls without pants on urinating in the men's room at a Britney Spears concert for life. Edit. I'm on a list now. Thanks Reddit.